Across the APIs, Salesforce GraphQL combined object schema, object query, and aggregate query all in one. Welcome back to Across the APIs, and today we're diving deeper into GraphQL, a new API that's available for pulling data out of Salesforce. And this one's really interesting because you can pull multiple different items out in one API call, and you could be picking exactly what you want with fine-tuned control. So this follows the new GraphQL open source spec, and we're showing you how it's starting out with Salesforce. On the UI API, it's going to be expanding across multiple APIs. But let's take a look at it, some of its cool new powers beyond what I showed you in the introduction video. So if you go to the API spec for Salesforce, which is right here, this is their Developer Force API spec, you'll notice that the GraphQL is the highlighted API, which follows, it's a new paradigm of sending and receiving data. And it allows you to pull multiple components at the same time. It's got a type schema, and it's going to perform at scale. We're going to be looking into this in detail, and you can see what we've got is it has got a tight schema, the ability to query. We're going to be looking at that, and we can get the query, and we can get the object info, and the schema queries. We also are going to be able to do aggregations, and the cool thing is we can do them all at once. So let's come on over here, and what we're going to look at is this is a GraphQL query using Postman, and you'll notice that there is actually a Postman format type for GraphQL, and this right here allows me, it pulls the schema, and what I've done right here is this is the definition of pulling pretty much everything about the account and the contact object schema definition. And you'll see down here, I can get account, the junction objects, the history, and with a single call, I could add additional ones. And you'll see the tight schema already doing the autocomplete, and there's opportunity. And here I have account, contact. So this allows me to selectively choose what I want to retrieve. And if I want to remove the child relationships and just stay with the API name and the creatable, I can do that. And now I've got a more narrowed approach. So you can pick and choose exactly what elements you want and pull multiple object infos all with the same request. So this is a powerful capability. Now, I demonstrated this in the last session that I can query accounts, and I can actually, first you name the query. This could be accounts and contacts. And this is going to be a UI query with a contact and account, and this has a where clause on it. So I can retrieve two different kinds of objects at the same time. So this is like doing two different SOQL statements, both separately, but it'll only cost you one API call, and we can define exactly what we're looking to retrieve. So looking at this, we can query contact and account and add where clauses all in a single request and customize them using the schema. And I've shown this that we're on the account object. We can type, and we could start typing, and we can start seeing through the schema definition, pull down all of the different fields. And we're going to do the internal value and send the query. So now what we've done, invalid syntax, probably this extra command, and query. And now when we jump down, we can see we're starting to pull the industry off of the account. So this is bringing more than one account. Now what we're going to do is we're going to combine these together. We're going to be pulling a contact query, an account query, and a schema query. Now we'll get rid of the child relationships just because they're very bulky. And we are going to go right here, and we're going to go account and contact and hit send. So now what we're pulling is we're pulling two objects and two customized schemas all in the same request. So this is very powerful. We could be making a single request to Salesforce. And with that, we can be pulling multiple objects simultaneously, thus limiting the need for our number of API calls. Now what we're going to see is we can so if we're going to take a look at this on the API definition, what we've been able to do is to query objects and get the object metadata all in a single call. So query objects, query metadata, and we also have the ability on these queries to do additional filters and even pagination. So this gives us a lot of power in querying our objects. Now we're going to move into some more capabilities. We can actually run aggregate queries, which are aggregate calculations across objects. So we can be aggregating average, count, distinct, grouping, order, min, max. So this is our ability to do aggregates. And I'm going to show an aggregate query. So here we have an aggregate query where we're querying opportunity and we're going to average the amount and get the total count. So if I run this query, I now have the ability to get the average dollar amount across all the opportunities. So this is an aggregate query running it through the GraphQL. And I can even add an additional calculation, so I can have the average amount and the sum of the amount all at the same time. So you can be doing multiple aggregates across multiple objects in this single GraphQL query. And now we can add all of these together into a single query. We're querying contact, account with a where filter. We're doing our schema query. We'll remove the child relationships just due to the size of the payload. We can then choose, and when we do the schema query, we could be filtering exactly the items we need in the schema, just the bare minimum of what you need to do your functionality for performance. And then we can be doing the aggregates. And you saw that I'm going to have an aggregate amount average, and I can have an aggregate amount sum, and I can even do an amount max. So we can add that in. So we can have 3 different aggregate functions plus a schema query across 2 objects. We'll actually add the 3rd object, opportunity, and the query across multiple objects. All of this can coexist in a single query. And we were able to get this in less than a second, in 790 milliseconds. So with less than a second, and a single API call, I was able to retrieve pretty much what you would need. So as you're building your functionality, you can be bringing it all across in a single call, and that is the power of the GraphQL. So I just showed you the power of the GraphQL of pulling multiple things, multiple objects, multiple kinds of things, even aggregate queries. You can pick and choose exactly what you need to support your functionality, and you get it in a single API call in a really fast amount of time. We were able to get all of that, what we needed, in sub-second. Now it also has additional ability for larger data sets, pagination, filtering. So it's a very powerful tool for querying multiple kinds of data out of the Salesforce API. Now you can also wire this up in an LWC and use this to query data from an LWC. We may cover that in a future session. And it's adding what are called mutations, the ability to modify data, to insert data, to update data, to delete data. And those are in beta right now, and we may cover those in a subsequent session. Thank you for joining Going GraphQL. Join me again, same bat time, same bat channel. Subscribe to YouTube, SteveTechArc, and www.stevetecharc.com. And have a great day.